It is Christmas week, and man, Christmas did not come early for the Colts because they have to play on Christmas. So we're already going to be opening up those presents. We're going to watch some presents being gifted to Colts Nation on Saturday night, but we got to talk about this other Saturday night game, guys. How are y'all doing, man? After Saturday, what a night, what a game. I know all of y'all got drunk because it was Saturday. Was it Sunday? Not going to do that on the Lord's Day. So probably went to church a little hungover, probably, went crazy. Maybe. I don't know. I was probably going to do it, but I didn't have no Crown in my fridge. So I'm like, damn, how could this be? But we do have a great show for you guys today. What a night it was. But I am Michael Terrazas, as always. This is the official Colts podcast of Fansided. And joined by me is our lead writer of the Blue Stable, Lucas Robins. Man, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How about you, Michael?
I'm doing good, man. I'm digging the beard. I'm digging the Santa hat. I'm digging all that, man, and especially the stainless steel Colts cup, it looks like. So got to show it off. There you go. Yeah, but, man,
I'm throwing out the beard for the playoffs, man. This is the Colts playoff beard.
The Colts playoff beard. There you go, from Lucas Robins.
Until we are eliminated from this season, I won't be shaving. I won't.
Whoa.
So, hey.
What are you drinking? What are you drinking during the show?
Let's just say water.
All right, let's say water, H2O.
Stay
I am
hydrated,
drinking this good Dr. Pepper cream soda because I don't drink alcohol. Alcohol is bad, kids. Don't drink that ever, especially while you're driving. So, guys, man, what a night it was. The Colts beat the Patriots 27-17. Lucas, man, this was the craziest game. I'm pretty sure the atmosphere in that stadium was ballistic. It was crazy. I have been looking forward to this game ever since we beat the Texans. As soon as that final buzzer went off, I just can't wait for this game. Had to go through a whole week, no football. Had to go through another week, and the whole week last week leading up to it, kept thinking about this matchup. Of course, we did the show with Rashad and talked about it, gave our predictions. I predicted 27-17. It was correct. That was the first prediction I've ever got right, and I'm glad it was on that game. What a night, man. It was all eyes. Anyone who is anyone in the football world watched that game. Not because, oh my gosh, we want to see the Patriots, but for once in a very long time, a Patriots and Colts game mattered. And walk us through, man. I want to hear your thoughts first, man. What was your initial thoughts as soon as the final buzzer sounded?
All right. Well, I went to the game. All right. I was in attendance. The energy in the entire Lucas Oil Stadium was electric. It was rowdy. And guess what? Greg from Carmel, you missed out on a great game selling your season tickets, buddy. Because, oh, man, I was elated from this game. Because ding dong, the Wicked Witch of the West is dead. The evil empire has been toppled. Death to the hoodie. The Colts win against the Patriots in a December game with playoff implications. And the Patriots, they're coming in with a 7-game winning streak. The hottest team in the league, number 1 in DVOA. And the Colts still out-Patriot the Patriots. It's not just that we won. And it's not just that we won by 2 scores. It's because we won using the exact same formula that the Patriots have used to absolutely wallop the Colts in the past. Most notably in the early 2000s during playoff time. What was the formula? Run the damn ball down the opposing team's throats, get some crazy turnovers, make sure you're disciplined, make sure you win the penalty battle. And guess what? We did all of those and made sure that we won that game. I mean, it was very, very fun to watch. And I gotta be honest, it made me very, very hyped about our Colts heading forward. I mean,
Definitely.
I'm not going to say we contenders. Not going to say that. But we far closer to contenders than we are to pretenders.
Yes, there you go. I mean, look, and you mentioned it, the way the Patriots have just drubbed the Colts. And, you know, we can't forget without mentioning the famous James White game going for 200 yards, I believe 2 touchdowns. And what an embarrassment that game was. It was on Sunday Night Football in Indy. And I remember that game as clear
Wait,
as
you talking about the Jonas Gray game?
Wait, was it Jonas Gray?
Yeah, it was Jonas Gray, not James White. Like, no-name guy.
Damn, it was.
And kicks our butt.
I know it was a guy with a J. Let's just say that. That's how.
Fair enough.
That's just crazy.
No name. They're all the same for New England.
There you go. What a night, man. The whole time I could not, as soon as Saturday hit, I don't know what to do. I'm literally thinking of stuff to do around the apartment. I'm just like, okay, how do I stay busy? How do I, just take my mind off the game? Just don't even think about the game until you turn that TV on at 7:10. And, I got on Call of Duty. I played zombies. I actually went pretty far in a live game. And, man, we was going hype. I just tried to keep myself busy because I was just done thinking I wanted to sit down and watch. What a game it was, guys. Y'all know how it is, man. We go with the good, the bad, the ugly. We're going to get into it all for you here, guys. It was a great night, but we came away with some pretty interesting opinions. So let's get it started. Clearly, we got to start with number one, the good, maybe even the great Jonathan Taylor. Look, a lot of people, I already saw it on Twitter early on. Why are we passing? Why is Jonathan Taylor not getting the ball? Because we're not trying to end his season or his career at the age of 26. That's number one. Number two is because everybody knows what we're doing. I'm not going to sit there and say we're that team that can beat you when you know what we're going to do, because I never want to be that team. I don't want to become the Tennessee Titans. I don't, because if you rely on one player and that one player goes down who is a running back of all pieces, you are in some deep trouble. Don't get me wrong. I'm excited about what Jonathan Taylor did. I do think he is the MVP of this league. When we're truly sitting down and talking who is the best player, who is performing at the highest level, who is winning the biggest games, he's doing it. Biggest game of the year, Buffalo. You destroy them. Best run defense. Then you go against Tampa Bay, put on a good showing. Go against Houston, drub them. Against the Patriots, which going in, a lot of people, I really don't just, national media guys really got to do a better job, because when you really sit down and watch these shows and watch them preview, because you always want to hear national media talk about your team. I listen into First Take or NFL Live or Get Up, and all this talk all week, the Patriots are built to stop the run. Where did y'all see that? Because I mentioned it on the show. They are literally the 19th ranked run defense. So where do y'all see that they're built to stop the run? They're not. They didn't stop the run against Dallas. They didn't stop the run against Tampa Bay. They didn't do any of that. So I went in hoping for a good game for Jonathan Taylor. It turned out to be a great game. And, man, Lucas, since you were at the game, the moment, I'm talking about the sheer moment that you saw him jump cut Dante Hightower. Tell me, man, what was that atmosphere like?
You know how I was saying how it was electric throughout the game? That was when you could have set off a nuclear bomb in downtown Indianapolis and no one would have noticed or cared, because that's how excited, energetic, and just loud the Colts fans were at that moment. It was just insane. Okay. Like, I did a breakdown on that play, and they had positioning. Dante Hightower, McCourty, they had positioning right in that hole. 2 guys, 1 hole. Sounds like a bad YouTube video. Anyways, Jonathan Taylor, he took advantage of that hole, found a little tiny crease, with some great nifty footwork to make them kind of turn their hips a little bit, get a little bit out of position. Then his insane burst, get skinny, run through an arm tackle, and then it's off to the races for the fastest miles per hour run this season by a ball carrier, 22.13. And he has 3 of the top 5 fastest for a ball carrier this season, by the way. But that was number 1. And even though it was the fastest one, he looked back. He looked back at J.C. Jackson as he's running.
He stared him down.
You think you're going to catch me? Oh, that's cute. Watch this. And then turns on the jets.
Hey, man, J.C. Jackson is pretty fast. In the fact that Jonathan Taylor outran him. I mean, he ran 4.3 at the combine, so it's not like it's shocking or anything. He ran 4.3, nearly 4.2. And he's putting it on display, man. I mean, I don't even think Derrick Henry, you know, those big runs he did against Seattle early, against the Jets, he didn't even reach those big 50-yard, 60-yard runs. He didn't even break 20 miles per hour when they when they tested it. He didn't even break 20 miles an hour. I think the highest was like 19.57 or something like that miles per hour. So Jonathan Taylor, I mean, also, what about the block that he set up on Dante Hightower when he shot up the middle? Carson Wentz rolled out and hit Zach Pascal right in a window. I mean, the blitz pickup was, who's been a better running back? And I'm taking complete bias out of this question. Who has had a better 2-year run stretch than Jonathan Taylor? I mean, you've had some good ones. You had Le'Veon Bell. You've had Ezekiel Elliott of recently. Saquon, he had a great rookie year. Second year, clearly injuries. Offensive line was bad. Couldn't really show it off too much. And then Derrick Henry, you know, he didn't get going until like maybe his 4th year in the league. Jonathan Taylor, I mean, you got to remember how rough it was the first 8 weeks of the 2020 season. He had a hard time. I think he was benched after a fumble and didn't really get going. I think it was after the Lions game that he finally got going. Ever since then, man, he hasn't looked back, literally and figuratively. Yeah. Well, unless you're J.C. Jackson. But Jonathan Taylor, he's the MVP. I know it's a quarterback's award. He's the MVP. And if he's in the MVP conversation, Cooper Kupp is also in the MVP conversation. I mean, Patrick Mahomes started out too bad for me. Was really bad. I think now he's still, the flashy plays on Thursday night, but Travis Kelce really made some magic happen. And then you have Aaron Rodgers, he's probably my one quarterback in the conversation, only because really I think the highlight of his year so far was going to Arizona minus his top 3 targets and beating the Arizona Cardinals, giving them, I believe, their first loss of the season when they were red hot. That's his moment of the year. And then Jonathan Taylor, say what you want. Tom Brady, he's out of it for me, honestly. I mean, you got shut out on prime time on your home field. Shut out. You didn't score a point. You didn't even kick a field goal. You didn't even get your team in position for a field goal. You fumbled the ball. That matters, in my opinion. Jonathan Taylor, you can't say enough about him, man. The burst, I've always mentioned it. His burst, as soon as he hits the hole, find me a better one in the league. I mean, you have some good ones out there. You do. You got Nick Chubb. You got the Saquon Barkleys. You got those guys. But Chris Ballard is a fucking genius, man. He is a damn genius. I just love Chris Ballard more and more every single day. Before we move on, Lucas, did you want to touch any more on Jonathan Taylor?
All right. Well, there's only 2 quarterbacks who I could see winning the award over him right now. I still have Tom Brady. He's got some talent on that. He's got an ability to get there. I mean, he's got 36 touchdowns on the year. He did get shut out, but he's still on pace for around like 43 touchdowns this season. That's going to be hard for guys to dismiss on. He might
reach 50. I think his closing schedule is Carolina, the Jets, and Carolina. So
he's going to be in like the mid 40s is a good bet. And that's going to be hard for voters to say, hey, this guy isn't the MVP, just because some guys just literally look at the stats. If we're talking about who's been the better quarterback, though, this season, I'd give the edge to Rodgers. But the stats will say, Tom Brady a little bit more. But do I think Jonathan Taylor is going to get some votes? Absolutely. This is a weaker year for quarterback stats than any year since 2017, which was the last time a running back got MVP votes, and that was Todd Gurley. Yep. And Todd Gurley wasn't quite having the year that Jonathan Taylor's been having. Like, some fans, Tennessee, keep on saying if Derrick Henry, for example, didn't win the MVP or even get a single vote after 2,000 yards rushing, then Jonathan Taylor shouldn't get anything as well. One, it's an easier competition this year because last year, Aaron Rodgers was scorched earth that year.
He's not even playing at that level this year. That's how crazy it is.
Yeah, he's doing really, really well, but he's not as good as last year.
He's not as good as last year.
Yeah, that was insane. So do I think that Derrick Henry deserved at least some votes last year? Sure. But I wouldn't have voted him. I wouldn't have voted him over Aaron Rodgers that year. Aaron Rodgers was the clear-cut favorite on that. And then the year before, it was Lamar Jackson with his insane 2019 season. And then the year before that, it was Patrick Mahomes in his insane 2018 season with over 50 touchdowns. Like, there was not an opportunity for any running back in those 3 years to get an MVP. Very likely not even getting any MVP votes, and none did. But Jonathan Taylor, right now, his season, his 2021 season, is on pace to be better than Derrick Henry's 2021 or 2020 season, because he's going to have over, at this rate, 100 scrimmage yards more. He's going to have 5 to 6 touchdowns more at this rate. And he's doing this on like 20 to 30 less touches for the season. He's being more efficient. And even if this was a 16-game season, he'd only maybe have slightly less total yards and still would have like 4 or 5 more touchdowns.
Yeah.
And have 40 less touches. So he's still being better than Derrick Henry last year. So I think Jonathan Taylor's got an opportunity to get some MVP votes. I don't know if I'm quite ready to say he's going to outright beat a quarterback to get it. But if he has some insane games down this stretch, like I'm talking, he gets over like 25 touchdowns this season and maybe gets really, really close to 2,000 yards rushing on top of his receiving production, it's going to be really, really hard not to vote for him. So he's got a chance, and that's very big for any running back at this point. So,
yep,
Jonathan Taylor, he's a beast. We love him, and we thank him for bringing us one of the greatest moments in Colts versus Patriots history, and that is a list that is hard to top.
It is hard,
but he's up there right there. That is a damn high praise right there.
You know, I can't remember, and I'm pretty sure Destin and Rashad are listening to this, and they know what I'm talking about. We did a sort of like draft, like all-time Colts, who would you take? At running back, I took Jonathan Taylor over like Edgerrin James. I took him over Eric Dickerson, Joseph Adai, whatever the case may be. And they were like, how in the hell can you take Jonathan Taylor over these guys? Which is true. But again, I don't think Edgerrin James had this burst, in my opinion. I don't think he did. I mean, the stats, of course.
It was different eras, you know.
It was different eras, different speeds.
I think Edgerrin did have that burst, but he also was limited because of like the rules in place. Like there was a lot more physical defenses back then.
Yeah.
So there's some rule changes that have been implemented since the edge days in like the late 90s, early 2000s that have really helped RBs especially be able to get more production. So I wouldn't put him over edge. And Eric Dickerson and Marshall Faulk, at least in their Colts stints, I'd say maybe, because they were phenomenal with the Rams. Like their Rams stints were legendary. Colts ones, they were still really, really good, but the Rams was where they were more. So if we're talking strictly only Colts times, then I could see a case for JT over those two, which that's Hall of Fame running backs right there.
I mean,
That's still
regardless.
very high praise.
Yeah.
So, and plus, Edgerrin James, outside of Marshall Faulk with the once he got into St. Louis, he was one of the best running backs, like receiving out of the backfield that I have ever seen.
Yeah.
Like, he was phenomenal. So I can't quite put him right there just yet, but the fact that he's even in the conversation in year 2 at age 22, that's high praise.
You know what's crazy? Before we move on to the next good guys, what I was thinking when I kept replaying the play when Taylor broke that 67-yard touchdown, I just kept telling myself, man, I really, really wish Aqib Talib and Gus Johnson were on that call, because you know how Gus Johnson gets. Like, that would take us back to the Badger days, like when he would call Wisconsin, Ohio State, when he would call Wisconsin, Nebraska. I just get, like, when I just even thought about Gus Johnson calling that play, just thinking about it just gave me chills. Like, he's the best caller, in my opinion. He is. And I don't know if listening to him talk about or listening to him call a game in the NFL and college, I'm not sure if he's asked to tone it down in the NFL or something, because he was calling the Lions Cardinals game, and I think a lot of us were watching that game, and he was not the regular Gus Johnson. You could still hear some excitement, but I don't know. I guess he just has a bigger love for college football. I don't know, but that's just my wish that Gus Johnson calls a Colts game. Maybe because they're not really that top team for NFL announcers. So we'll see where it goes. But going on to the next,
I really wanted to see a Manning cast in that game. Like, imagine seeing Peyton Manning see that run against the Patriots and Eli Manning.
Hey, man. Hey, maybe we get that Monday night playoff game and we get it then. Who knows? Maybe. We went on for Jonathan Taylor for a little bit, but it was definitely warranted. The next group that actually helped him out, the offensive line. And yes, I can add in Eric Fisher in there as well. The run game, the bye week clearly helped him. I saw a little bit better pass blocking as well. I didn't see too much, and I'm actually surprised. I did not see Bill Belichick attack Eric Fisher with Matthew Judon that much. I didn't. I saw Matthew Judon on Braden Smith's side a lot, and Braden Smith was winning that matchup. I'm like, oh, I'll take it. Easily, I'll take it. The run game, and man, shout out Danny Pinter, man. Shout out Danny Pinter. Real quick, our thoughts and prayers are with Ryan and Emma Kelly today on this show. I just can't even think of the words to, help that situation. Can't even fathom what they're going through, the pain that they're going through. That win was for those guys. That win was definitely for the Kellys. And what a job Danny Pinter did. What a job. I mean, he was drafted out of Ball State, and he came in weighing 265, and now he weighs about 305 pounds. The fact that he's put on muscle in his time in the NFL is just, I love it. It shows how serious he's taking this position, and he knows that, oh man, my eye is bugging me, but he knows how much of an anchor you have to be in the middle of that line, and the job that he did on Gotchu, man, and he is a hard nose tackle to move, and Danny Pinter moved him. Damn it, Chris Ballard, you fucking genius. Man, dude, where does he find these guys? Danny Pinter has done a great job stepping in. This next week, if Ryan Kelly chooses to, miss another week or so, have at it. Of course, do that. I'll take him against Rashard Lawrence. I'll take him against Zach Allen. I'll take that. Maybe Jason Peters. He's not the old, not Jason Peters, Corey Peters. I'll take that matchup, but the offensive line, man, not going to stay on this too long. What a job they did. Bullying, opening run lanes, the whole 9 yards.
Absolutely. This was a mauling by the Colts offensive line. They were getting so much push against the Patriots. It was insane. I was very excited to see what they were able to do there. The tight ends as well. On the outside, they were doing great inline blocking. Marley Cox was yet again a weapon in that wham kind of scheme. Jack Doyle was having some great blocks on the move as well. And Kylan Granson even was sealing up the edge a few times. That was very, very impressive by the tight ends. Offensive line, of course, phenomenal. Pinter coming in and doing a very, very strong job for Ryan Kelly, who, of course, like you said, our thoughts are to the Kelly family. They're going through some stuff right now, of course, and the Colts were definitely wearing their heart on their sleeve to play for the Kelly family. So that was very, very special for them. And by the way, you said you were asking, where does Chris Ballard find these guys on the offensive line? In the Hoosier State, baby. I mean, you got Quentin Nelson. Of course, you don't have to look hard to find Quentin Nelson coming out of the draft in 2018. But Danny Pinter, you kind of had to look hard for coming out of the draft in 2020 at Ball State. Chirp, chirp. But yeah, Pinter, he was a collegiate tight end, then moved to tackle.
Yeah.
And now he's been putting on so much weight, he can move inside, maybe even shift back outside if need be. Like, he's been a very versatile chess piece that we can use. And I'm really excited to see what he can do, possibly in a bigger role in 2022. But yeah, I'm excited for what this offensive line has done so far.
Definitely. I think off the top of my head, I can't remember who was the scout that scouted Danny Pinter. I don't think it was Chris Ballard himself. I can't remember off the top of my head, but when he came, I mean, given his size, we knew he wasn't going to go outside. I mean, he's 6'3". I mean, that's somewhat small, 6'3", 6'2". So we knew he was going to play inside, and I immediately thought center. I mean, we still have Joey Hunt, who's a vet. He's played in playoff games. He's played in many games for Seattle and for the Colts last year. So, hey, the more the merrier. He went and traded for Matt Pryor, who is, of course, TCU Horned Frog. You know, got to support those frogs. He stepped in greatly for Braden Smith, had a great game against Eric Armstead, and Nick Bosa completely clamped them down. And the job that he's doing, man, it's second to none right now. I mean, probably the only guy I can put in front of him is the guy from Tampa Bay. But other than that, it's hard, man. It's hard. Moving on here, more finds by Chris Ballard. The linebackers. What a game for Darius Leonard and Bobby Okereke, man. 2 interceptions, 1 to each guy. Darius Leonard also forced another fumble, but they were not able to recover. But the fact that he just forced another one, man, that right hand is crazy. I mean, you know, we're doing these celebrity boxing matches, man. Why don't we go ahead and put Deontay Wilder and Darius Leonard together? I mean, Darius Leonard might get his ass knocked out, but I would still like to see it. I mean, who knows? What a great game. I think this was possibly their best game together this year. They were active in the run game. The pass game, they paid attention to detail. I mean, think about on both of their interceptions. Let's focus on Bobby Okereke first. He's playing the outside, okay? He's playing the outside, and the guy is clearly going outside the numbers. He lays out. And remember, that length. That's what Chris Ballard looks for. That full wingspan. He got the interception, diving for it. And then you go to Darius Leonard. He's playing the middle of the field. We know he gets picked on sometimes, but playing the eyes of Mac Jones. That is one of the better pass coverage plays I've seen from Darius Leonard. He was in his bag on Saturday and not fooling around because he was really about to jump outside. But when he saw Max's eyes go back inside, he cut back. And boom, interception. Honestly, in real time or going back and watching it, I don't even know if it would have been a good play for the Patriots. I think it probably would have been a pass breakup because I think TJ Carey was right there over it, and it probably would have been a little bit behind Hunter Henry. But still, after already putting Jacoby Myers just literally in his coffin early, just stiff-armed him through the ground again. I mean, Darius Leonard in these stiff arms, man. How does he do it?
I mean, he's using that length, man. It has been phenomenal to watch. I mean, he got Kenny Stills first into the dirt a few years back, and now he just ate Jacoby Myers, putting him again on the turf in Lucas Oil Stadium. Phenomenal. And of course, you were talking about the interceptions. They were both phenomenal plays on their own. And Bobby Okereke, Darius Leonard had some pretty good games, both in the run and against the pass. Darius Leonard was so close to batting away a touchdown to Hunter Henry right at the end of the game. He was literally fingertips away. It was a good play by Darius Leonard, but an even better throw by Mac Jones. There was not much that he could have done, like outside of maybe take one more step to the right. Very, very close. But outside of that, he had a phenomenal game in coverage. And also, we can go even further beyond our two starters and talking about these Colts linebackers.
Yeah.
Because we also had a Colts linebacker get a blocked punt and a different one recover the punt for a touchdown. We're talking Matt Adams and we're talking EJ Speed.
Yes.
Speed with his second special teams touchdown of the season. I mean, he's got a chance to possibly get some Pro Bowl votes. Of course, the voting is now over. A little too late. But he just had two special teams touchdowns that weren't returned in the same season. That is very, very rare in the NFL. Very, very special for that.
Yeah.
But of course, Matthew Adams made sure that that play was possible as well, getting right into the penetration for the punt, blocking it, making it a boom, 14-0 game for the Colts. I mean, that was another aspect, like we were saying. We beat them even in special teams.
Yeah.
Which was insane.
Bubba Ventrone, man, what a reaction. I mean, the recognition the Colts are getting this year, it's one of those things where you love it, but at the same time, it's like the league is starting to take notice. You know, Bubba Ventrone is going to get an interview or two for a head coaching gig. He is. That's just what primetime games, Hard Knocks, that's what that does for your team. Along with that comes with Pro Bowl votes. Clearly, Jonathan Taylor is leading it. Kenny Moore is getting up there, and it's just full circle right now. And you hit it on the head. EJ Speed, Matthew Adams, even though they're depth linebackers, they are just they're so instrumental in special teams. That's why I don't go too big or too deep into Ashton Dulin, because George Odom was the guy last year. We're hyping Ashton Dulin as we should this year, but I've always kept it real with everybody. Zaire Franklin is just as important as Ashton Dulin. He is so active, and now Matthew Adams, and now EJ Speed. I mean, coming into this year, would you have believed that EJ Speed has more touchdowns than Marlon Mack? He has more. Well, I don't have the numbers in front of me, so I don't want to jump ahead, but or put a lie out there. But he's active. Yes, more than. Oh Jesus! Don't even say that. Godly, that's embarrassing. I
wouldn't have predicted that either.
Yeah, I wouldn't have either. But one of the things that I really got to commend EJ for is falling on the ball. You know, we see that way too many times. Guys are trying to pick it up, they kick it, or they can't pick it up and it goes out of bounds. The adrenaline that you get, like I've been in one of those, and it's at a high school level, so it's probably at an even monstrous level in the NFL. When you see that ball on the ground and you go for it, like your adrenaline goes up. And it's almost like you lose your head. You forget about all the coaching that you've been given. But he didn't over pursue the ball. He didn't run over the ball. He just ran to it and just calmly fell down on it. Secure the touchdown.
Partially because of the position of the ball at the time.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean,
it wasn't bouncing high or
anything. Pick it up and run it. It's because it's not in the end zone, Like if it's in the end zone, rule number one, you jump on the ball. And that was just a phenomenal spin on the ball, bouncing off of Matt Adams to land pretty much right in the end zone, but not go too far back to be a touchback.
Yeah. I mean, the linebackers, just depth, man. We're seeing the depth, and even getting away from special teams. At linebacker, EJ Speed had to fill in a little bit here and there for Darius Leonard, and he played good. Zaire Franklin came off the COVID list. He played well. I mean, Zaire Franklin is I'm really liking his development at linebacker. He's still developing. And I was kind of worried when he went on the COVID list, because after Darius and Bobby, he's our third linebacker who has the most snaps. And after him, it's like, damn, are we really going to jump to Matthew and EJ Speed or possibly Jordan Glasgow? No. So got with Zaire Franklin. The defense is playing well. And the last thing we're going to say about the defense, the last good, are the corners, man. I mean, the job that James Rowe has done. And remember, guys, if y'all have been listening to the show, remember what I said about James Rowe. Wherever he goes, you see progress. You see results. He went to Washington the year that they led the league in interceptions. That 1 year. Went to Appalachian State. He led college football in interceptions. Now he's in Indianapolis. You had two guys who were big projects. One was on the verge of getting traded, or he was between a rock and a hard place. Rock Ya-Sin has become possibly our best outside corner. Isaiah Rodgers, he was a guy that I highlighted coming into the season who I want to see develop. Maybe he should be starting right now. Maybe. Kenny Moore, he has taken his level, his play up a notch. And then Xavier Rhodes, it's kind of hard to say because he did start off bad, but he's been dealing with an ankle issue the whole time. Dealing with an ankle issue at corner, it is hard to overcome. It is hard. I don't care if you're Jalen Ramsey or even Deion Sanders. You have that injury, it's hard, man. It's hard. So the corners, Rock Ya-Sin, Isaiah Rodgers, and for those that caught the preview show last week, this is the matchup I highlighted, the one that I love, because our guys outside on New England, when you go to their wide receivers, there's nobody that scares you. Nobody. No one's scared of Nelson Aguilar. No one's scared of Jacoby Myers. No one's scared of Kendrick Bourne, although those are all solid pieces who, remember, Kendrick Bourne, he helped San Francisco get to the Super Bowl. He was wide receiver 3, and he played a good part in it. He had a good Super Bowl game. Jacoby Myers has been good, even though Lucas didn't want to give him to me in our fantasy trade, but he's been good. And Nelson Aguilar, I mean, we all know about him. I mean, he's inconsistent. And, I actually decided to start Hunter Henry only because I know we have a hard time against tight ends, and it worked out for me. He gave me 25 points. So it worked out for me. I'm happy. But other than that, the corners, man, even in the secondary, I'll just highlight the secondary. Kari Willis had a good game. Andrew Sendejo probably had his best game as a Colt. He was flying everywhere. And this is one of the things when people criticize Andrew Sendejo, okay, he's never been the guy known for coverage. He wasn't that guy in Minnesota. That was Harrison Smith. They would go cover 3. He'll play single safety. Andrew Sendejo would come down in the box. That was his role. That's how he played. Now, of course, when we see him in pass coverage, oh, man, we need to find somebody else. But the energy, the veteran leadership that he brings, you can't put anything past leadership and energy. And that's exactly what Andrew Sendejo brought on Saturday. Flying, thumping guys, putting N'Keal Harry on his back. I mean, Lucas, the job that James Rowe has done, the emergence of Rock Ya-Sin, another emergence of Kenny Moore and Isaiah Rodgers, man. How big of a role has this played into the Colts turning the season around?
It has been absolutely monumental for this defense. I mean, we can talk about some other aspects of the defense that have been kind of lacking at times, but the corners have really, really stepped up. I mean, Rock Ya-Sin is becoming Lock Ya-Sin. He has been shutting down guys as the cornerback 1. You got Isaiah Rodgers, who when targeted, he ain't giving up much. He did allow one big play by N'Keal Harry in a late shot down the field, which he should have had some safety help. I'm going to be honest. That one was more so on whoever the free safety was. They missed an assignment, and he was on a one-on-one. He tried, and it wasn't even bad coverage. He was tight on him. He wasn't getting any DPIs, but he nearly swatted the ball down. It's just N'Keal Harry just made a great catch. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes you do everything right that you can, and you still aren't good enough in coverage. It can happen. But outside of that, he's been very, very good this season. Xavier Rhodes, of course, up and down. But like you said, ankle injuries, 4 corners can be absolutely very tricky to navigate. I mean, like you said, it's tough. Got a lot of planting, got a lot of change of direction, got a lot of sudden moves with that ankle injury. That can be very demanding. So, yeah, he's had some up and down moments, but he was pretty solid this night. And of course, Kenny Moore II. He has been phenomenal for years. And it's high time a lot of the NFL starts paying attention to it. I mean, he's been underrated for this whole entire time. He's been the best slot corner in the NFL for 4 years now. And because of him being a slot, he ain't getting the respect that he deserves, despite slot corners being more valuable now than they have ever been. He's been using, like, what else do we need to see from him? Run support. He brings the heat there. Do we need him to, I don't know, maybe blitz, rush the passer? He can do that. Do we need him to be absolutely shut down in coverage, inside and outside as well? He can do that. Do we want him to be a leader of men on and off the field? He is that. Phenomenal person. Walter Payton, Man of the Year nominee for the Colts. Phenomenal guy. One of my favorite Colts. Hell, he's even my background on my phone. He's that good, and I love him so much. Can't say enough good things about Kenny Moore. And if I did, we'd have a 24-hour broadcast right here. But anyways, it's been a great, great unit for the Colts. James Rowe has taken it to another level for the Colts players. Great development this year. Very young unit outside of TJ Carey and Xavier Rhodes. So we got a trio that could be very, very interesting going forward long term for the Colts. And for This game, it was an easy matchup win for the most part of this game. I mean, there's a few plays here or there, but they were shutting them down. The way that the Patriots were moving the ball more consistently was through that middle zone. Like you said, Sendejo, he had some blown assignments in the middle of the field. And even after he left, the depth safeties as well were kind of blown a few runs there. Sometimes they're just barely getting out of the linebackers as well. And occasionally the wide receivers were barely getting beat. But there were some really, really standout plays throughout that. Honestly, the corners were top-notch yet again. And they're going to be very key against some really, really talented wide receivers in the AFC come playoff time.
And hey, I mean, I don't think there's anybody in that New England wide receiver room who is going to man up and say, give me the ball. They're just not those guys. And that's why I highlighted that matchup, because our guys who are growing against their guys who, although I believe it's Jacoby Myers who is performing as their best receiver, who's, getting points in fantasy and all that stuff. Still, I like our guys because we're battle tested. Another thing that I highlighted, we are battle tested. We went and faced Seattle when they were good. Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, Gerald Everett. We played the Rams, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods. You faced those guys. You faced Lamar Jackson. You faced the Titans when they had Julio and A.J. Brown the second time. You faced the 49ers, Deebo Samuel. You faced Tampa Bay, faced Buffalo. You have gone against some tough teams. And what I've liked and what I talked about in the preview, this team is learning. They're battle tested. And I thought they were more battle tested than New England. And I just like that matchup. So, guys, that is the good. We probably went a little bit long in the good, but, hey, it is the good nonetheless. Getting into the bad, we got to highlight this officiating, man. The calls were in favor of the Patriots, even though they were making some mistakes. I mean, there was like 2 blocks in the back. One of them was on Darius Leonard. I know that for sure, but I think they had called an illegal formation on that play, and they didn't even catch the block in the back on Darius. I believe it was a running back screen. and Darius Leonard was coming downhill, and the offensive lineman just came behind him and just blocked him in the back. There was 2 holdings that were missed, a DPI that was missed, and I'm just sitting there wondering, like, dude, but I really got to highlight, what was Michael Pittman ejected for? What was he ejected for? I mean, Bill Belichick came out today and said he doesn't understand how T.Y. Hilton wasn't suspended because he made contact with the referee, which is true. I agree with him. He is 100% right. And I believe there was some idiot named Dakota who covers the Patriots who put the video out there, snitch ass, who just wanted to show T.Y. Hilton threw this ref to the ground. Like, he pushed him to the ground. And in those moments, man, you're probably not looking who it is. You don't see that it's a ref. You're in the middle of a pile. You're trying to get your teammate off the ground who is at the bottom of a pile. We don't know what's all being said. We don't know what's all being done. And he's trying to save his teammate. He's standing up for his teammate. A ref comes in, shoving. And T.Y. just mans up and is like, hey, man, get off me. Didn't even know who it was. I'm curious to see what will come of that. I don't know. I really hope the NFL doesn't come out and say, you know what, you pushed the referee to the ground, you're suspended, can't travel to Arizona, can't play on Christmas, whatever the case may be.
I think it's more likely going to be a fine, if anything.
Big fine, probably. I just hope the league doesn't inject themselves and try to be like, oh, you know what, T.Y., you're suspended. But getting back to Michael Pittman, we already know how physical he is. I mean, last year he freaking took Yannick Ngakoue off the line and just blocked him right out of my TV screen, and then came back and boomed Harrison Smith on a Jonathan Taylor run. Like, that is how physical this guy is, and he embraces it. He was blocking on a run play. He was blocking Kyle Duggar. Kyle Duggar started getting aggressive, knocking Pittman's helmet off, but he kept trying to put it on, and they were shoving and everything. Kyle Van Noy comes behind Michael Pittman and shoves him to the ground. Kyle Duggar rips his helmet off, and somehow Michael Pittman is ejected. Like, I don't understand how you eject Michael Pittman. And what was the worst that he did? Frank said that at first he was upset with Pitt. In my opinion, why were you upset with Pitt? I mean, I understand in the heat of the game, you're not worried about the details. You just want to get everybody back to the sideline, figure out what's going on, and after the game, you'll go back and look. He said at first he was upset with Pitt. Afterwards, he didn't think it was fair. What did he do? What did he do?
Here's what he did. Here is all that he did. Like you said, Duggar got under his helmet, moved it around. It was kind of like off-centered. He could barely see. All right. He's trying to adjust it, and Duggar's still kind of up in his face. So he kind of shoves him away to kind of give him some space because, hey, he can't even see. If this guy tries to try something, he's not going to see it. So he's like, hey, give me some distance, man. And who knows what that was being saying. Probably some trash talk going on. We don't have audio for that right now, of course.
Maybe Hard Knocks gives us a sneak peek.
Maybe. But anyways, from what we could see, then all of a sudden, like you said, Van Noy, some Patriots fans were like, Michael Pittman Jr. lunged at him. No, Van Noy came from the back and shoved him right at Duggar. And then Duggar starts ripping his helmet off, kind of going some jabs underneath, and then laying on top of him, and they're kind of like dogpiling him. Like, from what I've seen, Michael Pittman was not the agitator. He was trying to react, maybe defend himself a little bit too much, I guess.
In my opinion, that's typical. That's typical shoving. That's typical shoving after a run play. You're trying to establish dominance. That is a DB. He is a wide receiver. There is a rivalry there within itself. That's not a defensive lineman. No, you are going one-on-one, Kyle Duggar, Michael Pittman, in a later rep, in a later play.
Yeah, so
I've been in those moments. Even though it's in high school, I've been in those heated moments. And I mean, I commend for T.Y. Hilton getting in the middle of it. I commend Michael. But I feel like, and this is probably a credit to Frank Reich's coaching, but if I was T.Y. Hilton or I was Zach Pascal, man, I'm getting in there. I'm not standing saying, guys, come on. Now I'm getting in there and I'm standing up for my guy because I saw what y'all did. And I'm coming in there and I'm probably ripping one of y'all's helmets off because that's my brother. That's my guy who we literally fight to feed our families together for each other. And in my opinion, man, T.Y. Zach, y'all a lot nicer than Michael because I would have had hands throwing. Hands would have been thrown. Helmets would have been ripped off.
The worst incident that I saw. Like, sure, Van Noy should have gotten he should have gotten thrown out of the game as well because he was coming in out of nowhere.
And they didn't even throw a flag on him anyway.
Yeah. So
I don't even think New York got involved in this. Did they?
He's going to get fined. Maybe I doubt he gets suspended, of course, and same with Duggar. I don't think any suspensions are going to be coming from this game at all. It's not like you're socking a coach on the sideline or anything, but there's going to be some fines, of course. And then the worst one, though, was Matthew Judon trying to prevent Carson Wentz's reproductivity. So like he was trying to stomp on him.
So when it came to that,
not so friendly area.
I'm not so. I don't know what he's talking about. Well, obviously, I know what he's talking about, but obviously, it's something that the cameras didn't catch. From what I saw, Judon had Carson on the ground, and it looked like he shoved his forearm into his throat.
Yeah,
that's what I saw. So there's clearly something that happened that the cameras didn't show. Maybe, again, there was an extra set of cameras that we get to watch every Wednesday night. Maybe Hard Knocks caught something. Maybe NFL's watching that, and they give him a fine. I don't know. But the fact that Carson Wentz went out there in the middle of a field goal attempt nonetheless, and, well, not in the middle, but after, what was it? I think it was maybe missed or there was a timeout or something, a flag. Can't even remember.
Fired up.
Yeah, he was fired up. DeForest Buckner got in the middle of it and everything. And see, that's what I'm talking about. That right there. Frank Reich does a great job coaching these guys. Hey, man, let's not be protagonists. Let's not instigate. Let's just be grown men and walk away. See, DeForest Buckner just has two arms in between them. Man, if I was DeForest Buckner, Carson, get back, man. I'm taking my helmet off, getting in Judon's face. What's up, bro? You got anything to say to him? You say something to me. Let's go. What's up? See, these dudes are a lot nicer than Michael, man. It's a credit to Frank Reich's coaching. It's a credit to Frank Reich's message and coaching. And plus, you got to.
They're not trying to start anything. If anything happens, it'll hurt long run. So
you got to think that this was also something that was a topic of discussion in practice. You got to think it's a rivalry. It's prime time. We're hyped up. They're hyped up. Let's just make sure we stick to our P's and Q's. There you go. The rivalry's back on the T-shirt. So, and another thing, this is my last thing about the officiating. When it came to Duggar and Pittman, hell, I wouldn't have even ejected anybody. Even if Kyle Duggar did rip a helmet off, okay. But if I was the head referee, I'm saying, okay, you grab Kyle, you grab Mike, bring them and say, hey, man, this is a huge game. Y'all are important to your team. We're going to throw a flag on sportsmanlike conduct on both of you. We're not going to eject you because this is a rivalry game. We understand, but we can't have it again. So if y'all do it again, y'all are out. That's what I would have done, honestly.
I think the NFL, they're doing like that zero-sum policy, like no tolerance whatsoever. Like, I get what you're saying, of course, but at the same time, I do understand what they meant by like ejecting both of them, even though I think Michael Pittman should not have been ejected at all. But I get why there had to be an ejection because you had to try and de-escalate. You had to try and get these factors out, because last thing you want is to do very minimal and then these guys go at it again and then it comes into something even bigger. Like, it's a fine line, of course. And like, you have to know where like certain lines are crossed, of course. And if anything, I would have thrown out maybe Duggar and maybe Van Noy, not Pittman. Maybe I'm biased, maybe I'm not, but Pittman was clearly not the agitator in that situation at all.
Yeah.
But even still, like, you don't want a version of like a Malice at the Palace, which I know, different league, different sport.
Different event, honestly. No fans are getting involved, but you don't want like the team. Like you don't want a Patriots Seahawks at the end of the Super Bowl fight. That's what you don't want. Exactly. So I completely agree with you there. Again, Frank Reich's coaching, his installment of discipline, Composure was clearly on display for this whole team. I'm pretty sure Quentin Nelson wanted to rock Kyle Duggar and throw him through the freaking ground of Lucas Oil Stadium. But hey, man, we got a game to win. I got some money to earn, and we got a championship to chase. So I don't need to be in the middle of all that. You know, fighting Kyle Duggar ain't gonna pay my bills. So I'm a football player, not a UFC fighter. So getting into last thing of the bad. It's something that I've been a little bit sketchy on all year, something that I really hoped would have stepped up on Friday or on Saturday, but it didn't. It's the pass rush. And again, I have been vocal when it comes to Dio, when it comes to Quiddy, they're rookies. I'm not going to put the weight of the world on their shoulders. I'm not going to do that. Grover, DeForest, Kamoko, Al-Qadin, you know, the guys that have been here, we're just not getting it. Al-Qadin fights every play. He's going to give you effort, but effort does not outweigh talent. Okay. There are those great quotes out there. I'll take a guy who gives effort and becomes talented rather than a guy who is talented and doesn't give any effort. Those are great quotes, amazing quotes that are true. But on the football field, in the NFL, in high school, okay, but in the NFL, talent outweighs the effort. Effort comes in when the play is prolonged, when there's great coverage, when there is great scheming by the defense, and the quarterback's just scrambling around. That's a high motor. But I'm just not seeing it. Of course, DeForest Buckner got free, and Mac Jones really could have threw the ball away, but he just threw himself to the ground, and DeForest secured the sack. So, hey,
there's another business decision not to try and get strip sacked or to
right.
Absolutely, I mean, by a monster of a man.
Hey, man, smart decision. I liked it. I liked the decision. Still got a sack, still put them in 3rd and long and punted. So, I mean, he did make a smart play. But when it comes to the pass rush, man, even watching Kamoko Toure when we were in the 4th quarter and the Patriots were gaining momentum, and this is still something I'm still getting onto Brian Baker and Matt Eberflus about. There is no development. I'm not seeing anything new. Even with Kamoko, I'm not seeing anything new. He relies on a speed rush, and after that, he is lost. Even, I believe, I can't remember which play it was, but I remember watching him. He tried to beat the outside left tackle with the speed, and once the left tackle got in front of him, damn, like he's just shell-shocked. He don't know what to do. He doesn't have a move in his bag. He doesn't have an arm swat. He doesn't have a club. Just nothing. Al-Qadin Muhammad, he is who he is. And I tweeted it out earlier today. For the sake of the Colts' Super Bowl window, for them to be legitimate, Chris Ballard he desperately needs Kwity Paye and Dayo Odengbo to work out. He needs them to. Now, this is, of course, the rookie season. No one's going to go out and set the world on fire. Nick Bosa didn't do it. Chase Young didn't do it. They're not going to do that. Year 2, year 3, that's where we're going to see the development start to take off, hopefully. But the pass rush, it's got to show up. As good as the secondary and the linebackers are playing right now, you just can't expect them to hold up for 7 seconds, 6 seconds, and you're not getting any pressure. You can't do it.
There were some good pressures at times, but not very consistent. And this is a very strong Patriots offensive line, especially in pass protection. But of course, it wasn't consistent enough. Kwity had some pressures. DeForest Buckner had some pressures. Taekwon was pretty much neutralized not Taekwon, sorry, to Ray. Taekwon, of course, is out for the year, sadly. Al-Qadin Muhammad, like you said, not doing much in this game. I mean, we got some interior pass rush for sure, but the edge, that's been the weakness of this Colts offense, right? Or defense so far. I mean, Taekwon was giving us some spark before injury. Kwity has been doing very, very consistent pressures. Hasn't quite converted them always to sacks, but he's been making some plays where it's impacting the passers. But we need another guy besides Kwity Paye to generate that outside rush. And Dio has shown some flashes at times, but of course, He's a rookie coming off an Achilles injury. He isn't all the way there yet. You'd hope at this point that a certain former Horned Frog would develop as the athletic freak that he is and show his upside. But of course, he's been a healthy scratch or non-participant for a while, and he's got the athleticism, but still very raw. We need to see the development, like you said. Like, there's a lot of very athletic guys on the Colts edge rush, but not a whole lot of guys who are fully established yet. It's a raw unit. We all knew this coming in, but Brian Baker's going to need to step up a little bit more on this development, getting some counter moves, getting some consistency out of these guys, because it's a young group. They need to learn, and they need to take that next step for the Colts to fully open that Super Bowl window.
Yeah, I mean, I'll get, into all the coaching and everything. I'll get into that when the season's over. With Ben Banigou, I'll get into that when the season's over. Just a pretty poor situation from him. It's completely unfair what he's being put through. Brian Baker, every time he shows up on Hard Knocks, I cringe every time because, what does he do? He doesn't do anything. He doesn't develop anybody. He was at Alabama, nothing but 5 4 stars, didn't develop anybody there. And who is an Alabama pass rusher who is good in the league right now? Nobody. Crickets. So
outside guys, not many. Inside guys, there's a few.
He was only the defensive ends coach at Alabama. They had a separate defensive tackle coach, a defensive line coach. So he was exclusively pass rushers, and he didn't develop anybody. So for those guys, Quentin Williams, Fladarian Mathis, or LeBron Ray, those guys, Christian Barmore, he had nothing to do with them. He didn't even touch them, coach them, or whatever the case may be. So the pass rush has got to come alive, whatever the case may be. I don't care how it's done. It needs to come alive. And for the future, Kwity Paye and Dio have to work out. They just do. They do. Because at this point, you got to put money into your extensions. You got to put money into more wide receivers, or basically more skill guys. Basically, however they come, you got to put money in that position. And this is going to be a pivotal offseason. I don't think this is just an offseason where you can sit on your hands like Chris Ballard has done and dictate, what money you put out. He's not going to just throw money out because it is a pivotal offseason. He's going to stick to his guns, and he's got to do something. But this isn't an offseason podcast. One last thing before we get into the ugly. I do have to give Matt Eberflus credit. I'm still calling for his job, still want to change, but I got to give him his credit. The last 4 games or so have been good. It seems like ever since, I want to put it on since the Jets game. And it was that, it was reported that Frank Reich had a separate meeting of him and Matt Eberflus. I believe Chris Ballard was involved in that one between the 3 of them. Ever since then, the results, stepping up in coaching, has clearly been obvious. And I just only wonder what was said in that meeting and what future parameters were probably set and mentioned in that meeting. So the coverages were different with New England. He went away from some zone, but when he went to zone, that's when the Patriots started getting a little bit hot. Again, against the Patriots, not the Patriots, the Buccaneers, you're going to get scored on. But again, in this game, you allowed 17 points in the 4th quarter. I don't care if we had a 20-0 lead. You allowed 17 points in the 4th quarter, the money quarter. That has to stop. I don't care if it is 50-0. It has to stop. I got to say that. I will give Matt his credit. He has been performing. One last thing before we get into, other talk about this team. The ugly. Carson Wentz. It was ugly Saturday night. Immediately on the first series. Michael Pittman, who Rashad and I went a little bit back and forth on. One, I wouldn't really say back and forth, but he said he didn't like J.C. Jackson versus Michael Pittman. He didn't like the secondary versus Michael Pittman, our receivers. And I said I would love to see that matchup. I don't know how he's going to perform yet, but I'd love to see it. In my opinion, Michael Pittman won that matchup. If you look at the stats, J.C. Jackson was targeted this, he allowed this, it'll say, no, he won. But when I look at Michael Pittman beating him at the line of scrimmage, gaining separation, being open when J.C. Jackson was in coverage, he won those matchups. His first target, he beat J.C. Jackson. He was man-to-man, up close, press man, and he beat him at the line of scrimmage. Running down the sideline, Carson Wentz overthrows him. And if he catches it, cuts it back inside, that's potentially a touchdown. Missed. Now you're driving down the field. Michael Pittman beats him outside once again. And instead of throwing the ball where it needed to be on Pittman's outside shoulder, you threw it inside and gave J.C. Jackson a chance to intercept it, and Michael Pittman turned into a DB and batted the ball away. I mean, this stuff, the throws, the big throws that you need to make, he didn't make them in this game. Not in this game. Even the interception was just so pathetic. I mean, it was triple coverage. What was he seeing? What was he trying to do? With Carson Wentz, he is that guy. He'll make a mistake, but when he makes a mistake, it is the absolute worst mistake you can make. When it rains, it pours with Carson Wentz. Now, I'm not going to be these media pundits out here that are talking about Carson Wentz or anything like that, because we all know they only watch 2 games of the Colts a year, and they only pay attention to the turnovers. That's it. They're not truly educated on the Colts. If Lucas went one-on-one with Stephen A. Smith about the Colts, Lucas would win that argument. If I went one-on-one with Ryan Clark about the Colts, I would win that argument. I just study this team more. He watches them probably 1 or 2 games a year and thinks he knows the team. Carson Wentz went blow for blow with Matthew Stafford, went blow for blow with Lamar Jackson, went blow for blow with Tom Brady, went blow for blow. I mean, hell, dare I say Josh Johnson? I mean, he's done great things. And I still think he is our future quarterback. But about this game, I needed to see it. When I say it, I meant a guy that is going to put the franchise on his back and deliver a game. Now, maybe that just wasn't the game plan, because we saw it was a heavy run game. That probably just wasn't the game plan, just like with Tampa Bay. The run game was very little. You're going to go pass heavy. Now, in this game, you're going to go run heavy. So maybe that was just the game plan. And Frank Reich was thinking much more different than me, and that is correct because he gets paid millions and I don't. So I credit him for that. But there is still that elephant in the room about Carson Wentz. You know he's got the talent, but we need to have that moment. He needs to have that moment of there needs to be a play, and I need to make it, and I need to win this game. And there hasn't been that moment. He's capable of it. I know he is, but that is a little bit worrisome for me when we get into the playoffs. And I still think we're going to the playoffs. But if we go to Kansas City in the AFC Championship game and Chris Jones, Frank Clark, Nick Bolton, these linebackers are doing a great job on Jonathan Taylor, do we have number 1 confidence in Carson Wentz? Can we honestly say that? 100% confidence in Carson Wentz? Maybe it has more to do with the lack of weapons and help for Michael Pittman, but we still haven't had that moment.
I absolutely agree. He hasn't quite gotten that absolute moment where you can say, hey, national media, he just led us to a giant win against a really tough opponent in a key situation. Like, he's had some really, really great games that have just barely become losses. He's had some close losses leading this team. I mean, Baltimore comes to mind. Phenomenal game. But of course, we lost because of a few missed kicks, a block kick, a missed extra point. And of course, we send it to overtime in a game that we could have won had it not gone to overtime.
Don't forget, we were primed to get another touchdown, and Eric Fisher allowed a strip sack.
Yep. He's had some protection issues. I mean, he has been one of the most hit quarterbacks in the NFL, one of the most pressured quarterbacks in the NFL. The vaunted Colts pass protection offensive line that we were so banking on heading into this year has not quite happened this year because of injuries and because of Eric Fisher not stepping up in his anchor. He has had a very poor anchor throughout his career, and it's got even worse post Achilles. So there's been that. Blindside rushers are killing Carson Wentz. Weapons, not a whole lot outside of Michael Pittman Jr. and maybe at times when healthy, T.Y. Hilton, who I really hope can step up and be that secondary weapon that he needs. And then he's got the run game. He's got the run game to help him out. Absolutely. No question about it. But at the same time, it's still not quite as much support as, let's say, a Tom Brady is getting, or a Matt Stafford. He is right now playing at a top 15 kind of quarterback level. He's good. He's a good quarterback who you could say maybe can be a franchise quarterback. But he's not at that level where you can say he is elevating the team to such a height where you can win it all the way with him. He needs to be a little bit more carried than some of these other quarterbacks that we're seeing at the top of these best teams in the league to make it to the big game. Doesn't mean that he can't make it to the big game. It's just he'll need some more help. Now, unfortunately, I do have to disagree with you that he did make some plays. Now, they weren't in the passing game. He had one really great scramble out and deep throw to Zach Pascal, which was phenomenal. But there was still some very ugly passes, some slightly missed opportunities. Sometimes it was by him overthrowing guys. Other times it was Molly Cox dropping a touchdown. But there were some plays where he was being very, very clutch against the Patriots. They weren't passing. They were running. He had 3 different QB sneaks, which, of course, it's a short yardage play. Oftentimes, when you have a dominant back like Jonathan Taylor, you're going to give it to the back in these short yardage situations. But Frank Reich showed a lot of trust in saying, hey, you just run it forward behind this strong interior offensive line, and you get that first down. Might not be a whole lot on the stat sheet, but showed a lot of confidence in Carson Wentz. And he got the clean snap from a backup center, made sure the ball was secure, and got in for the first down 3 separate times on QB sneaks. And he also got another first down running. He was under pressure by some really, really strong pass rushers from the Patriots. What does he do? He breaks outside, going against his towards the left, which is very hard for a quarterback to do while keeping their eyes downfield. And hey, maybe he makes a cross-body throw. Maybe in the past, we would have seen him try and force something. But no, he takes off and runs, gets the first down, gets to the sideline, stop the clock, and avoids a big hit. Very, very clutch play, making something out of nothing there. Again, we do need to see that progression from the passing game. But he has had a positive impact in the Colts, being able to open up the playbook with the RPOs, being able to have that mobility that Phillip Rivers did not have. And he's cut down on those stupid mistakes that we saw in 2020, especially. Like you said, when he does make them, they are mind-numbingly bad. I'm not disagreeing on that, but it's at a far lower rate than what it used to be. He's definitely making some progress. He didn't even have a whole lot of time to prepare this season. He had a handful of practices, then he gets injured, then he gets on the COVID list, and then it's week 1 up against the Seattle Seahawks. Then he gets an ankle injury. He's been playing hurt pretty much ever since fourth quarter of week 2. He hasn't quite gotten his ankle fully 100%. So I'm giving him a little bit benefit of the doubt. Being a top 15 quarterback in his first year back with Frank Reich, I'll take it. But going forward, next year especially, he needs to take that next step. He needs to be a top 10 quarterback to prove that, hey, he is worthy of the long-term investment for the Colts. So I'll take what we got from Carson Wentz so far. He does need to improve. No doubt about it. But I will take it over absolute quarterback purgatory. We're out of that for right now.
Yep. And I mean, I think for Carson, my thing when it came to last night, I just had it in my head. This whole offseason, you could even say Frank Reich put his job on the line and went one-on-one, went back and forth with Chris Ballard about you. Maybe, well, I'm not even going to say that. I'm not going to say Chris Ballard maybe wasn't all in on Carson Wentz. He's not going to trade a first and a third for someone he's not in on. I'll just say that. Chris Ballard is not that guy. He is going to trade for someone he's in on. They put their jobs on the line. Well, I wouldn't say on the line. Frank Reich did more so than Chris Ballard in jeopardy for you, saying this is the guy who can take us over the top. This is the guy that we can count on. You have to show up now. You wanted a new start. You wanted a fresh start. You wanted a new offense. You wanted a franchise that believed in you. You didn't want a franchise that would lie to you, that would draft someone at your position. You didn't want that. Now you have that. And guess what? They want a quarterback who is going to lead them to the top. You have to be that. That's just how business side of the NFL is. We're giving it to you. Give it to us. And can he be that guy? I definitely think he can. But even through all of his career, it's still mind-boggling to me. And I had to remind myself the other day, he only has one quarter, 15 minutes of playoff experience. He has 15 minutes of playoff, not even 15 minutes. He has maybe 6, because that's how much time his offense had the ball for against Seattle in the wild card. 6 minutes of playoff experience. That is crazy. And we still need to remind ourselves of that. We still do. And which brings me to my next question. This team is hot right now. Who wants to play them? Who do they want to face? How far can they go? And coming into this year, I said it. The two positions that are going to dictate this team is going to be quarterback, pass rusher. So far, quarterback has been good. Pass rush has been eh. If quarterback can turn good into great, I think I would like my team. I think I would like, if Carson Wentz can take the play from good to great, I'll put this team in the Super Bowl, because so much parity in the AFC. Every team has its weaknesses. There's no all-star defense. The offense is equal, in my opinion. I'll take this team. They're built on the road. They're built for inclement weather. They're built for that. So if Carson Wentz can step it up, I will take this team's chances in going to the Super Bowl. I will. The run game, the pass game, I'll take it. That's how much I still believe in Carson Wentz. I still believe in this team. Their talent, like I said earlier in the year, this team is too talented to be 1-4. They are too talented to be 1-4. Now they're 8-6, 8-2 in the last 10 games. And it's been an interesting run of games. Arizona next. They're pissed off. I think they're also lost too. So can he go blow for blow with Kyler Murray? You might not even need to go blow for blow, because the run defense is not even just against the Lions. They've been questionable. So Las Vegas, Derek Carr, they might be hell-bent on trying to get to the playoffs. They need to go all out. And then Jacksonville are going to try and end your season. Play spoiler. If you can get to the playoffs, a team that you want to face, clearly, right now the division is still in play. Tennessee lost. We won. We are 2 games back. We are a game back, and then we lost that head-to-head, so we got to make up 2 games. We can beat Arizona, Las Vegas, Jacksonville, and it's very realistic this Thursday, and I've always said it's realistic. This Thursday against San Francisco, still no Derrick Henry. Julio will miss this game. I mean, that hamstring is not going away, man. It is sad to see. A.J. Brown was literally just put on the COVID list, and I don't even know if he's designated to return from IR yet. So he did? Okay, so he was probably going to play this week.
He could, maybe.
You could have maybe.
100%.
Yeah, I don't know if he's vaxxed. I don't know anything about that, but we'll see how that turns out. If they go into that game against San Francisco, who is hot, and they lose, Indy wins on Saturday, we have a real discussion. Miami, who is on a 6-game win streak right now, trying to get to the playoffs. I mean, they're positioned at 11. They're the 11th seed right now, and they're trying to get there. Can they beat Tennessee? And if we run the table, we are going to be the AFC South champions. We get a home playoff game. Who do you want to face? If there was one team that I wanted to face, first round, I would probably say, oh man, Lucas, where are you going? Because I still don't know. I think part of me wants the Titans to win 2 of these last 3, get the division, be the 4th seed, we'll be the 5th, and we'll have that rematch in the wild card.
Well, the playoffs is a tricky son of a gun to predict right now in the AFC. I mean, there are so many teams that are still alive. Only 3 that have really been eliminated. Everyone else is currently in the running. So it can be tough to predict who is going to be there, who is not. But right now, the Colts are still going to be a wild card team at this rate. All the Titans really need to do is win 2 games to absolutely secure the division, and 1 game, barring the Colts sweeping, they could get the division, which I think the Colts have a chance to sweep, but it's going to be tough. There's some, I mean, Cardinals are a damn good team, and the Raiders are playing very, very scrappy right now. I think we should have the edge over the Raiders. Cardinals, we'll see what kind of game it develops into. Jacksonville, we should be favored by a lot. But Jaguars have been known to play spoiler to the Colts in the past. They're the team who the Colts have the least, or the Colts have the worst win percentage in the AFC South amongst the Jaguars of all the opponents. They're still above 500, but the rest of the teams we're able to beat a lot more historically speaking. So Jaguars seem to always kind of have our kryptonite at times. But looking at the playoff picture, right now there are very few teams that I'd say with confidence that I don't want the Colts to be playing. You know, I mean, there's Kansas City, who they've been on fire on defense recently.
Right.
They put Chris Jones back in the interior, and he's been wrecking stuff. Their secondary has stepped up. Their passing game, Mahomes can take off on any night and be the best quarterback in the league. He's been a bit inconsistent, but he is very, very dangerous. Make no mistake. I don't want to be facing them. And at this point, they're going to be the number 1 seed, so we won't face them in the wild card at this point. But I don't want to be facing them at that point. Beyond that, I think we can take the Titans, of course. The only way I can see the Titans really being an issue is if they do get that bye somehow and they have more time to get healthy, maybe they can make something happen. I doubt they get that bye, though. Patriots, we out-physicaled them this time. I don't know if we'll be able to do that next time when they have Damian Harris back potentially. That makes it a little bit tougher of a game, and Bill Belichick is a master at making adjustments. I don't exactly like going up against the hoodie, but we at least know we can beat them. Buffalo Bills, we know we can beat them with our physical style of play. And especially if it's somehow in Buffalo, in a cold January blistery night, it's going to be a very, very similar game to what we saw previously with Jonathan Taylor's steamrolling them. I mean, looking at the entire playoff picture, you got the Bengals, who they have some inconsistency, of course. They have a dangerous quarterback when not pressured in Joe Burrow. They have some weapons who maybe could take advantage, could possibly give our cornerbacks a run for our money at times. Great matchup right there, though. But yeah, they have a well-balanced offense and a defense that has some upside as well. I'd be a little bit, I wouldn't be so much nervous against them, but I'd say it'd be an interesting game. All right. The Baltimore Ravens, they beat us previously, but they've gotten even more injured. We got a chance against them. Lamar has definitely regressed, and he has been asked to do so much this year for them. By playoff time, I don't know how much gas he's going to have left. So I'd take the Colts over the Ravens at this point. I mean, yeah, then you go to the Browns. They've been heck inconsistent. Like who knows what's going to happen with them.
Right.
They just lost to the Raiders right now, so I don't know if they'd really even qualify in that playoff contention. They got a chance, but I don't know. They're one of the few teams that would have a chance to outrun the Colts at least. So they'd be an interesting matchup. But ultimately, outside of the Chiefs and the AFC side, I'm not too scared about the AFC. We can at least have a close game with any of these teams and possibly win against these teams.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at seeds like where the Colts are at number 5 and then go all the way down to number 13, 5 to 13, 8-6, 8-6, 8-6, 8-6, 7-6-1, 7-7, 7-7, 7-7, 7-7. And the Colts have the tiebreaker because of their conference record, which is 7-3. That will get you over the hump. Now, I really like it because LA, they're 5-4. We should win that one. Buffalo, we got the head-to-head. Baltimore, that's the head-to-head. Pittsburgh, they're 5-4 in conference. The Raiders, they're 5-4 in conference. Miami, we have that head-to-head. So it's getting crazy right now. That is how much parity there is in the AFC. And the way the Colts have positioned themselves right now, I would really love to see them close it out. I would really love to see them close it out because if they can, man, as long as we don't play the Chiefs in the first round, I'll take this team over anyone, even if it's the Patriots again, even if it's the Chargers, even if it's the Bengals. Those games we've seen between Chargers, Chiefs, Chargers, Bengals, Browns or something. Those are division games. We know how crazy division games can be. And I'm talking about Chargers, Bengals, and Browns, not the Chiefs, because that's not their division. But seeing those games, those get crazy because of division. So right now, the way this team is positioned, I'll take them, man. I'll take them. I need to see something from Carson first. I need to see something from him. He's been good this year. He has. All of his interceptions have just been total bad interceptions. There hasn't, I don't think there's been one where a DB just made a great play. Well, other than the Antoine Winfield one. Other than that, yeah, when it rains, it pours. So running game, get Nyheim Hines involved, obviously. Michael Pittman, got to start getting him. Well, not even getting him involved. We've been trying to. Carson Wentz just hasn't hit him. And obviously Pittman's had a couple of brain farts as well. So, guys, it is definitely going to be an interesting stretch, okay? It is definitely going to be interesting. We're going to go ahead and end it here. What a game it was on Saturday. Christmas Day. Again, when it comes to NBA Christmas or NFL Christmas, I'll take NFL Christmas. I will. And I think NFL will prevail in that one. I know my Dallas Mavericks are playing on Christmas night, but yeah, it's tank season. Okay, that's all I got to say. So other than that, guys, Christmas Day, we will be back with you with the preview show. I know I'll be there. You know, who knows? We might have a return of a guest or a host, or hopefully Rashad can join us, but we will be back recording Wednesday. We'll be dropping Thursday. A big preview of this, another huge game with an upset Cardinals team. Now, I don't know if Cliff Kingsbury is that guy to get his coach out of a slump. I highly doubt he is, but we'll see. All right. Shout out Lucas Robins. Thank you for joining in, stepping in on this show, man. Where can we find you?
Of course, guys, you can find me on Twitter at Robins Lucas, spelled exactly how it sounds. Don't give me that extra B. I don't want it.
There you go. All right.
You can also find me on the site, thebluestable.com. We got some content that we're pushing out that is going to be very, very exciting to watch. It's going to be a phenomenal season to cover the Colts. And hey, tune in to us.
There you go. All right, guys. Well, here's to trying to get to 9-6. All right. So, guys, once again, thank you for listening. We'll see you later this week.